back, our winners. It's AJ and Jon from BCCS Sports, and you're listening to Bustin Chops and Callin Shots. Sans Chop right now, still out, still in California. So it's just me and Jon. We've gotten pictures of Cal Stadium. I don't know what the name of that stadium is, but the stadium for
like
Cal
the
Bears.
Bear Den or the Golden Bear or the Jack Nicklaus Stadium. Or
We've gotten pictures of the Giants Stadium last night. So he will be back soon. But in the meantime, it's just Jon and I, and we're back again. You know, we recorded Monday morning. We're back here Wednesday morning, so we wanted to get you guys really good kind of breakdown of college and pro. So we're going to do that. We're jumping in some NFL news, but first, Jon, how's everything faring this week, and what are your thoughts since we last talked with some of the news that's come down from the NFL and others?
Well, Chris Jones, he signs the 1-year deal, which Chop was like knocking him, right? But look, I think this kind of worked. I mean, one thing this does for sure, he's not going to be a Chief next year.
Think so?
Well, I think what they've basically did is they've opened it up and said, okay, you want to get paid huge money? Great. We're going to pay you big money this year, right? Next year, you can test the market and then see what's out there, and we'll counter it. So I think that's the angle the Chiefs are playing. Not saying it's a bad angle, but the Chiefs don't seem like the team that's going to spend money, right? I mean, after Sunday, they sure would like to have old Tyreek Hill back. I get it. They won a Super Bowl without him, but I mean, the guy looked pretty impressive week 1. So, and then, I'm interested to see how that plays out, right? But for the Chiefs, it's good news because they need him, you know.
They need him bad. Yeah. It was very clear on that game that they needed him. And, you know, obviously we talked about the receiver core. But yeah, there's just some teams that just, they feel like they hold on to their money a little bit. They kind of distribute it out a little bit differently. And they're kind of more, well, we can find some guys in the draft, or we can find some good value players out, you know, in free agency. And there is kind of those two tiers, like, you know, there's like the Dallases and there's like the Phillies and there's the Miamis, and they're like, they'll pay for whoever. And then you got the Chiefs, the Titans are this way, you know, the Steelers. And it's just like, no, we're not going to pay you the big contract. You can go to wherever and we'll just, you know, we'll figure it out. So,
well, I guess
it seems like they're very much that way.
There was a rumor like him in Dallas, right? Like he was liking Dallas' stuff. But look, after what I saw from Dallas's defense, the last thing they need is Chris Jones.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're pretty
God.
Set. Yeah.
You put him on that defense, it's lights out.
That'd be scary. Yeah. Yep. Some other news around the league. Obviously, the biggest piece of news is that Aaron Rodgers is goes down fourth play of the game Monday night with an injury to his Achilles, a torn Achilles. He is out for the season. Jon, you said in a text message to me, likely for his career. We'll see what happens. That's pretty much an 18-month to a 2-year recovery. And that's probably all that he was intending on playing at this point in his career. It's very disappointing for the Jets fans and the Jets fan base. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. But even for those of us that were curious about how this whole experiment was going to play out, we're likely to never see, you know, how that is going to play out, unfortunately. And so we're left with Zach Wilson. And, they obviously won the game the other night in glorious fashion. What an exciting Monday night game and way to kick off the Monday night. But yeah, the news was a little heartbreaking. And we'll see how the Jets move forward from here.
Look, man, it's just, obviously it's bad for the Jets, right?
Yes.
I mean, that place, him running out with the flag, the way the defense looked, the way that Breece Hall looked around the ball. I mean, the catch Cedric Wilson made in the corner of the end zone was sick.
Yep.
It's very sad for the Jets. I never thought I'd say this, but I feel horrible for Aaron Rodgers because he has seemed to turn over a new leaf, right? He's been a totally different dude. but really for the NFL and the fans. Because, the Jets, New York, I mean, they clamor Knicks, Giants, Jets, Yankees, right? And this was supposed to be and you can see it, like if they had Aaron Rodgers, I mean, that really helps their case. But when I look at it all the way around, and I'm going to make a crazy statement, people are going to just beat me up.
No.
But that offensive line has been an issue from Jump Street.
Yeah, for sure.
And a popped Achilles is a freak accident. However, he wasn't going to make it the whole season behind that line. I don't care how quick his release is. So later in the season, Aaron Rodgers would have really benefited him. Right now, Zach Wilson's going to be able to benefit them more than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me.
Yeah, only because that offensive line, I mean, listen, Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, folks. I mean, Remember watching Brady with the Bucks when he got hit? I mean, he'd get up and spike the ball into the ground, like throw it at linemen's feet. Like, that stuff's got to hurt at 40, 41, 42, 43 years old.
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm 40 and look, I stubbed my toe going up the steps and, I'm out 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I'm on the PUP list. So, having Chris Jones, knock your block off or Dexter Lawrence lay one in deep. I mean, can you imagine next week that Jets offensive line going into Dallas?
Ooh, that would be really. I mean, yeah, it is interesting now, even still, but then, yeah, it would have been really interesting.
I remember Collinsworth and Tirico with the timer. Daniel Jones 1.17 seconds after he snapped the ball, 1.38 seconds after he snapped the ball.
Yeah,
that's insane. That's like you get the ball and forget the 3-step drop. You got like 2.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers obviously was going to make them better.
Sure.
Right now, Zach Wilson's probably the better choice just because of his legs. Look, folks, I'm not saying Zach Wilson's a better quarterback. I would never say that. I'm just saying you need to be able to get away because that offensive line is ridiculous. And it always goes back to your championship teams, Chiefs and Eagles last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
What'd they have in common? They invested on the offensive and defensive line. That's where games are won and lost.
Yep.
Always has been in this league. Yes. Do you need a quarterback that can sling it? Absolutely. Do you need a shutdown corner? Absolutely. Do you need a wide receiver that can make plays? Absolutely. But if you don't have offensive and defensive line, those are the top, defensive, offensive line, and a quarterback. Those are the 3 things you need. Everything else is secondary. I mean, look at the Patriots with the little Smurfs they had run around at receiver.
Yeah, and we knew that was like the conversation around the Jets early on, and even into the first week. Everyone was kind of waiting with bated breath on how the offensive line was going to be, and it looks like it is as bad as everyone had feared. Obviously room to improve, but it certainly wasn't. They didn't come out and overperform or overachieve in that sense. So we'll see how Zach Wilson plays in that role. I agree. It might be a little bit better for them to have him in a mobile situation to be able to get away and move around and make plays in the pocket. And honestly, if Breece Hall continues to play the way that he is playing, that's going to soften up defensive lines too.
He looked great, man.
He looked great. So that's a big factor. As long as they can run the ball, the defensive line can't just sit back there and cock it and release and just go at him every time. They have to kind of play the run a little bit. So that's going to be a big factor moving forward for sure. Let's go into some MLB. What do we have? 17, 13, 14, 15 days left of
14 to 16 games left for everybody. Yeah. And I tell you what, this National League, we can talk about the American League first, but this National League looks like a 20-car pileup at Daytona on the backstretch.
Getting really tight.
Yeah. I mean, it's in there like swimwear. That's how tight it is.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts as far as pennant races, wild card? I know we touch on this about once a week, and it seems to be kind of moving a little bit each week in one direction that we didn't expect. Is there anything that's surprising you moving into the end of the baseball season right now?
Yeah, so Baltimore, they got a 3-game lead in the East here with they got about 14 to go, them and the Rays. I expect the Orioles to hold on, which that's going to cash some future tickets that I had personally. The Central is all but wrapped up here. 7.5 game lead for the Twinkies. And then the American League West is where it gets interesting, AJ. You got Houston's got the lead despite dropping 2 in a row to the A's last night. Tried to get cute. I didn't want the guys to lay $1.70 juice. So I had Houston in that parlay with Milwaukee. Obviously, Milwaukee wins. And then lo and behold, what happens? Well, Houston loses to freaking the A's on back-to-back nights with Verlander on the hill, 6-2. But Houston's got a 1-game lead over Texas and a 1.5 game lead over the Mariners. So interesting here, right? Yeah. I mean, how that, with these 3 teams, how it ends up. Houston's obviously got the experience. Sure. Again, 16 games left. Now, here's the interesting thing. 16 games left for the Astros.
What?
Right? But 18 games left for Texas. Right? But 17 games left for the Mariners. So the Astros got the least amount of games left out of the 3. So, I'm going to go with the Rangers. I've rode the Rangers the whole time. They haven't looked good. They past month and a half, they've kind of fell off the wagon. You know what I mean? No pun intended for all you people trying to stop taking nips out there. But I'm going to go with the Rangers to get this done. And then the wild card for the American League, Tampa's got an 8.5 game lead. They're obviously going to get across the finish line. Texas a half game up on Seattle and Toronto, who are both tied. So Texas, Seattle, Toronto, one of those going to get left at the altar. Man.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, gosh, it's hard to bet against Toronto because you just feel like they got all the talent. You know what I mean? But I do like the Mariners pitch. I'm going to go ahead.
Hell out of the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto's got guys that crush the ball. I like Seattle's pitching, man. I'm going to say Toronto gets left out.
So you got Toronto out, but you got Seattle makes it. And was there one other you said too?
Seattle, Texas, and Tampa. Yeah. Seattle, Texas, and Tampa. So what'll happen is
Texas. You said you have Texas winning the West. You said
yes, winning the West.
Yeah.
So Texas, then they would win the West. Houston and Seattle and Tampa would be your 3 wild cards.
Got it. Yep. Okay.
Yep. So then, how the bracket would set up: the Orioles and Texas would get the quote unquote buys.
Sure.
Right. The Twinkies would get the Seattle Mariners. And how about this for a first round clash? Houston and Tampa. Dynamite.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yep. It's hard to think about Houston not coming around in the playoffs and playing well. They typically always do and have shown the last few years that's totally in their style to do that. So it'll be exciting to see them play as always.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Did you wrap up National League already?
No, National League. So in the National League, we got the Braves. I mean, they got a 16-game lead over the Phillies.
Yeah. Jeez.
So Braves best team in baseball. Dodgers got a 13-game lead. So those will be your 2 buys. Now the Central, Milwaukee started to stretch it out a little bit. We had them past 2 nights. They got a 4-game lead up on the Cubos, right? And so I look for both of those to stay right there and go that way. Now your wild cards, again, 14 to 18 games left, depending on which team you are. So the Phillies plus 3.5, my bad there. Phillies plus 3.5 lead the wild card. Then the Cubs that are a game and a half back of the Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Cubs are 2 games. This is where it gets interesting. Cubs 2 games up on the D-backs. Then you have Cincinnati a game back, San Francisco a game and a half back, and Miami a game and a half back. So, all these teams, I mean, I think the Phillies are still good, but I mean, the Cubs only being 2 up. You could really say Cubs, D-backs, Reds. I mean, you got 5 teams fighting for 2 spots. I've said all along, I think the Phillies are dangerous. Obviously, I think they get across the finish line.
Sure.
I said all year I've liked the Cubos, and I went with the D-backs earlier. I said the Reds, Marlins wouldn't make it, so I was down to Johnson D-backs a couple of weeks ago. I'll stick with the D-backs because of Kelly and Zach Gallen. I like the arms they can throw out there. The thing about Arizona, I think no matter who they match up with the first round, which it's a miracle if they make the playoffs, but whoever they match up with the first round, I think you're going to see them, have an early exit.
All right. There you go. Any other bold predictions for Major League Baseball playoffs or World Series or anything? Or are you still, we still kind of far away from that?
No. I mean, like I said, Braves right now, they're the leader, plus 250 to win the World Series. Astros plus 550. Dodgers 6-1. Look, man, the 2 best bets to me are the Orioles 8.5 to 1. The Orioles, plus 850. Orioles been knocking the crap out of the ball. Their pitching you think is weak, but they've been able to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
They got an amazing closer. And then look, I still like the Phillies 13-1. Again, my whole preface is about this Phillies thing, right? Is if the Phillies can just, if you take the Phillies in the National League, right? Phillies 7-1 to win the National League. All you're hoping for is they get to the championship game or the championship series, National League Championship Series against the Braves. And then, like I said, what a horrible thing. You got to hedge with the best team in baseball. So I like the Phillies with the value, the Braves at this point. You're just going to have to bet them per game. But, the Braves, their pitching staff's they find arms, dude. They just come out of the woodworks, Freed and Elder and Strider, which I still think Strider, and I still think these guys can get got. They're not like, it's not like they're like Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz out there, but these guys have been, the Braves have just been the best team all year long in baseball. It's hard to envision them not winning the World Series, but we know from experience, baseball, anybody can get hot at any time. And then all of a sudden, 3 games in a row. We saw it last year, right? Padres and Phillies. Beginning of the year, everybody had high expectations. They limped through, and then next thing you know, they just get in the dance. Padres knock off their nemesis, the Dodgers. Boom. Lo and behold, Phillies and Padres in the National League Championship Series. So anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Playoff baseball, really. It can go so many different ways. So many different ways. Very exciting. Okay, well, let's go ahead and hop on over to a little college football week 3 preview. We have a couple games we're going to go over. Probably not all of them, at least not all in the top 25, but we have a few that we've picked out this week. And as we move into the college football season here, we're starting to see, and we saw it in week 2 a little bit. We saw it in week 1. With 1 or 2 games, but we're now starting to see some of these teams move off of the cupcakes and really start playing some either rivalry games or inter-conference games. So that's what's really exciting here. And the first one is a game that we've seen, in the past be very, very interesting, and that is Florida State at Boston College. Florida State, as we've talked about on this show, coming in at 0-2, or excuse me, at 2-0 on the season. Very impressive so far. Ranked 3rd. We'll actually get into some rankings talk here in a little bit as well. And Boston College 1-1. That line is is a pretty big double-digit one that John talks about. So Florida State laying 26 points from what I can see. He might have a different number there. So, John, how are we feeling about this first game on the slate as far as at least on our slate, and then on the Saturday that it's at a 12 o'clock game?
Yeah, well, the line opened 29, and I was like, BC was a big circle. Now it's down to 26.5. I really wanted over 28.5. You know, if you're getting, people say, how could you take Boston College? Well, a couple of different reasons, okay? I understand how they played against Holy Freaking Cross last week, okay?
Yeah.
And they were in dire straits. I get all that. But there's a couple dynamics. If you take last year at Florida State, 44-14, Boston College lost by 30, right? And you're like, man, they lost by 30. Yeah, but now they're getting 28.5 at home. But here's the bigger things. If you look at the previous 3 matchups before last year, Florida State won 26-23 at Boston College and 38-31 at Boston College and beat them 22-21 at home. So Boston College has played them tough, right? They have played, and now you're talking about 4 touchdowns. That's a lot of my points. The second part of this that's important is Florida State has their biggest game of the whole year now next week. They're on the road to Clemson. So I like to look for soft spots, especially, you know, look, they're college kids.
Yeah.
Right? They know their whole season, you know, the AP poll has them ranked 3rd.
Yep.
I actually have them ranked 3rd. I actually agree with the AP poll. We'll get into that later, but I agree with the top 4. Yeah,
that's
top.
Very rare that you agree with them.
I know. They've been listening to the show. Yeah, the pencil pouchers have been listening to the show, and they have started to come around. You know, it's pretty easy when I do all the work for you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, the top 4 we agree on. But for Florida State, if they beat Clemson next week at Clemson, who they haven't beaten since 2014, a la the last time they went to the college playoff with famous Jameis Crab Leg Winston, then they're probably going to get to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So what attention do you think they have at Boston College when they know the whole season? Because look, folks, they're not going to lose to Boston College. I mean, even if it came down to they only won by 7, like they're going to beat Boston College. Everybody knows they're going to beat Boston College. Boston College knows they're going to get spanked. But when you're getting 28.5, if it can creep back to that, because right now, 89% of the bets on Florida State, 11% of the tickets on Boston College. So we have huge discrepancy there, right? Joes versus pros on that. So if it gets back over the 28.5, Boston College is going to be a play. It's one of those, you know, ugly dogs. You hold your nose and jump. But at 26.5, that's a game. I mean, that really puts you in no man's land.
Gotcha. All right.
AJ's like, I got to take Boston College. Are you serious? Not yet. Don't get too worried. The look in your eye is like, did you not watch the Holy Cross game?
Yeah. You know, and that's not typically your style too, you know, betting big numbers like that. But I guess in certain situations it makes sense, and you make some good points. Like this is going to be a game that I could see Boston College playing them real tough, tripping them up early. Obviously, Florida State will probably win, but it'll be a lot closer than people think. So makes sense to me. All right. Our next game on the slate is going to be Penn State at Illinois. Penn State 2-0. Big Ten. Is this a rivalry? I mean, that's definitely anything within the Big Ten is going to be a game. This is potentially why you probably picked this game. Illinois coming in 1-1. That line is Penn State laying 14.5 as far as I can see it. And another great Big Ten game for our noon kickoff. I guess the big noon kickoff probably will be.
Yeah, that's the Fox big noon kickoff this week.
Exactly.
So look, line opened 15. You are right. It's setting 14.5 now. 92% of the tickets are on Penn State, 8% on Illinois. You're over under 48.5 is where it opened. It's still staying there. 88% of the tickets go to the over on this one. Look, I mean, Penn State, they've looked good, but I don't feel like they've played anybody by any means. And then when you look at Illinois and the Fighting Bielemas, as I like to call them, Luke Altmaier, he's had his moments. They really struggled with Toledo, but look, man, Toledo's a really good football team. Like I know people, the national eyes aren't, but Toledo and that quarterback win, 17 starters back. Toledo's a handful. So I don't knock Illinois for that. I've been trying to make a case for Illinois. The problem with them is they're offensively challenged. Last year they had Chase Brown. They were able to run the football extremely well. But look, again, it's really hard to step in front of Penn State, but you don't know how good Penn State is right now because, again, James Franklin feasts until he gets to Ohio State and Michigan. Then he's like a little chihuahua shaking, peeing down his leg, right?
Yeah.
So I part of me is like, I want to step out there with Illinois, but probably going to take a pass just because I don't want to step in front of Penn State just quite yet. I mean, you're right. When you circled this game for us to talk about, I was like, man, I don't really know what I think about Penn State right now. Like, I know they're ranked 7th, and AP's got them 6th or 7th or something.
Yeah, and I'm like, but it just hasn't. They haven't been in the spotlight the last couple weeks, so I don't know what to think about. Kind of how good they are. So I agree with you on that. All right, and it's your Nittany Lions too, so that's probably got some. You got some. Kind of sentimental, probably angst there too. That's like causing this.
Look, I am the worst. I am the worst Penn State fan. So everybody knows Penn State and Notre Dame are my teams. Chops die hard Notre Dame, but I've leaned more Notre Dame the past couple of years just because I've gotten so frustrated with Penn State.
Yeah, and
so I'm really kind of a negative Nancy about them, to be honest with you. I'm like a horrible Penn State fan. Like, still rock the gear, but in all reality, I'm a horrible, horrible fan. So,
well, the fact that you have two teams that are usually play each other like every year, that are your
it's
teams.
been a little while, but they used to play each other every year.
Kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
I'm just down on Penn State because I never know how good they are because they can never beat Ohio State or Michigan. They might play them tough for a half. So, that's you never, they're like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
There you go. Well, we've talked about that. All right, jumping into the next game. What we want to talk about is this is going to be a good one. We got LSU at Mississippi State. LSU obviously, has the one loss. Still ranked 14, going into Mississippi State. I like the new coach Arnett. He seems to be having those boys playing really well, and LSU is laying 10 going into Mississippi State.
Yeah, line opened 8.5. It's up to 9. 70% of the tickets on LSU, 30% of the tickets on Mississippi State. Your over under open 53.5. It's now setting at 54. 79% of the tickets go to the over. When I look at this game, you go back to last year at LSU. LSU won by 15, 31-16. Year before that, 28-25, 44-34. And then before that, LSU just boat raced them. So the biggest thing here for me is, again, trying to make a case for the home dog. But LSU's hit the money line in 8 of their last 11 games. Obviously, you can't lay $3.60 on LSU. But, I still believe in LSU, right? I picked them for the college football playoff. Obviously, that is starting to dwindle away really quick.
Yeah.
Considering the teams that are undefeated and what their schedule looks like the rest of the way. And then now looking at what LSU's schedule looks like the rest of the way, right? Because they got Tennessee, they got Alabama. I mean, they got a tough road to hoe. But I think LSU gets this done, but I wouldn't lay 9 because, like you said, Mississippi State's, obviously the tragedy that happened with Coach Leach.
Yeah.
But now as things start to go on here, you kind of look at LSU and say, okay, they're going to get there. But for Mississippi State, they're playing so daggone well so far. You don't really want to step in front of them either, right? Not at home. I would definitely like Mississippi State as a play if it were a night game. Again, I love night games with these college dogs. But look, when LSU, they're ranked 8th in the country in offense. They're putting up 541 yards per game, AJ. So, that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
So, yeah. They're averaging 48 points a game now. Mississippi State's defense, they're only giving up 15.5 points a game. So Mississippi State, again, I think this game's going to be close. I was trying to make a case for Mississippi State here. But LSU, I still think is college football playoff material. They won't get there now. But I think, again, when you get to the end of the year, you'll be like, man, if they didn't lose that Florida State game, you could be looking at a national champion.
For sure. Yeah, and I figured you were looking at this as a home dog opportunity, and I like your point. At night, for sure, there's a chance.
If this is a 7 o'clock ESPN game, and I'm catching 9.5 by the hook to 10, I'm all over the Bulldogs, Mississippi State.
Exactly.
Noon, kids ain't had a chance to get liquored up enough yet. You know what I mean? Speaking of, I know we're going to Tennessee this year, but a place I want to go watch a game because I heard it is just a party is Ole Miss.
Oh yeah.
I've heard Ole Miss is.
Yeah.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've been to the Grove, where they have the whole tailgate
on game day.
On a game day, yeah.
How was it?
Unreal. It was so fun. It's a whole thing. It's a whole vibe. All the girls are dressed up real nice.
Real nice, Clark.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's a whole thing. Yeah, that'd be fun. Ole Miss is, Ole Miss is a cool home game to go to for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep. Speaking of cool home games, probably up in Michigan, I bet they're really excited about Washington coming to town. Washington, obviously ranked 8th, and Michigan State also 2-0. We talked about the controversy earlier this week with what's going on at Michigan State. So it'd be really interesting to see how that will factor in. What has progressed since we last talked, John, with that whole Michigan State thing, and how do you think it'll affect this game? And why did you circle it? Was it for that reason?
Well, look, first of all, just touch on it again. I don't know the whole situation. I'm just getting secondhand information, right?
Sure.
From ESPN or from internet and all that stuff. But apparently, Mel Tucker came out and said that he denies everything, that was totally consensual. And all this happened over the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just, it's just even more odd, right? But Mel Tucker's claiming that they did this, that Michigan State was behind this. So, yeah, the whole situation is just getting weirder and weirder because they wanted him out. And I'm like,
they want him out. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I'm like, man, I hope somebody, because that's like, other than like preying on a kid, that's like the worst thing a man can be accused of. Right? Like, that's like that's like the worst thing. Why are you looking at me like that? Like to be accused of sexual misconduct or of allegedly raping a woman. Like, that's the worst thing to be accused of when you're not guilty. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because again, we just live in a society, and I'm not, again, who knows? I'm just saying, he's saying that the Michigan State has orchestrated this because they want him out, which I'm like, well, yeah, you're a bum of a head coach. I've said that on this show for 2 years. However, I don't want to see anybody, because as soon as you're accused, you're not presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
The whole world looks at you like a creep.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I'm saying. You were looking at me weird, like.
Well, first, I'm not. I guess I'm just not even sure, really, what exactly he's being accused of, and that's why
he's being accused of having a phone conversation and choking the chicken with her while he was on the
that's
phone.
What I understood. Yeah, that's what I understood. Okay, but it's also, yeah, you said it was one of the worst things to be. You were saying it's one of the worst things to be accused of.
You're about to have a John moment. This is fantastic.
And I'm like, how often is someone accused of doing that specific thing? But then you were talking about more the overarching, being sexual misconduct. So, anyways, that's why I was looking at you funny. Just for those of you not watching and listening to it on the podcast, that was where that came in. So, yeah.
But with D'Antoni back, so if Michigan State really wants him out, though, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just go down that fantasy road. I haven't seen any of the players. So, like when Harbaugh got suspended, J.J. McCarthy, the starting quarterback's out there with the free Harbaugh shirt, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If something happened to Coach Prime, the Colorado kids would be there having his back, right?
Yep, for sure.
If something happened to Saban, kids would be. You haven't heard a peep out of them.
Yeah.
Out of the athletes. And on top of it, now Mike D'Antoni, the old coach, is coming back. So I preface all that by saying, Washington, as dynamic as they are, as good as they are, and all that jazz, to be laying the line open 14, it's up to 16.5. I don't think it touches. I mean, it can't touch 17. There's no way it can touch 17. I don't think.
Okay.
But remember last year we had Washington in this game. Washington was the dog at home. We took Washington. Michael Penix went nuts. But when I went back and looked at that game at Washington won 39-28. And you can make the argument this year's Michigan State team is at least the same, if not a little bit better. And so if you lost by 11, and they turned the ball over a ton. I mean, it was like, they were baking apple turnovers there. 17 is just a lot of points, man, on the road. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of points. So I'm just curious, like, how this thing breaks down. And if it touches 17, I'm going to have to roll with the home dog here. Now, you're going to know in the first couple minutes, okay, is Michigan State focused or not focused?
Yeah.
So maybe if you take Michigan State, maybe you're like, all right, first couple minutes, I got to hedge off of this. John was an idiot. He led me to slaughter. But I just think that it's a good play on Michigan State. Again, you never know how a team and college kids are going to react.
Sure.
But if it's really, let's just go down the road of what Mel Tucker said. If it's really what he says it is, were the kids out on him anyway?
Yeah. Exactly.
So now they get a pump of juice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, it's always hard psychology with college kids. But again, they lost by 11 at Washington, which is a very difficult place to play. Now this year you got them at home catching 17. So I like Sparty here, man. Plus the 17.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I do too. Actually, you make some good points. So we just talked about a 5:00 game, but we're going to hop back earlier in the day here to a 3:30. South Carolina at Georgia. South Carolina coming into Georgia 1-1. Who's their loss against again?
Oh, South Carolina. We had them in that freaking opener against North Carolina. And
that's what it was.
Duke's Mayo. Remember we were talking about the Duke's Mayo contest needs to be two hot chicks eating the bucket of mayo. What?
You just scare me every time you talk about Duke's Mayo or the Duke's Mayo Bowl or the Duke's. You really, because, dude. I will have to go back and what episode was that? It was probably like episode 50 or something. I don't know. Anyways,
I still don't know why they're eating it out of the tub. Never mind.
It's weird. South Carolina at Georgia and Georgia laying 27.5. So I do see that. I mean, look, South Carolina always can play anybody really tough. Spencer Rattler is starting to kind of get his feet under him a little bit as the season goes on. So I could see this one being a lot closer than people think. Then again, at the same time, Georgia could just pull away and not even make it competitive. So,
yeah, I mean, look, the way I'm kind of down, I'm kind of, limp on the Gamecocks. I mean, after what they did against the Tar Heels, and what I saw the Tar Heels pass rush, I don't want any. I mean, Rattler's going to be rattling, all right, because that Georgia defensive line. I mean, look, South Carolina's offensive line looked like they should be a New York pro franchise. The way they let Rattler get beat up. What was it, like 9 sacks or something? So I'm just not real interested in going into Athens. Because I had high hopes. Remember, you and I talked about this. I'm like, man, I think South Carolina is going to make a lot of noise. And then I'm like, man, I'm a real idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, I had that team all wrong.
Like last year, I mean, what we probably see is them losing games that they should be winning and then upsetting teams that they should have lost to.
Sure.
We could see that again. And I'm not saying they're going to upset Georgia, but that's what we saw last year, where it was like they were just kind of okay. And then they'd go into they'd go and play Tennessee and upset them, just because they're just capable of doing that. But we haven't seen them, achieve to the consistent, winning the games that they need to be winning in order to compete in the SEC like we think they can. So, yeah, I get your point for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like South Carolina at home a lot, but not in Georgia.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. All right. Well, speaking of a team that South Carolina upset last year, let's talk about the Tennessee and Florida game.
Good old Rocky Top.
I'm saving it. I'm saving Rocky Top for a time that we're really going to need it. So, obviously, Tennessee ranked 11th, 2-0 in the season, going into Gainesville, the Swamp. Only 6.5, laying 6.5. I mean, I do think that I'm surprised that it's. I would say, I'm not surprised that. I'm not. I'm surprised that the line is that low, I guess, but I'm not also like eager to go out and bet it. When it comes to the 6.5, just because you have the track record of Tennessee and how they've done in Florida over the last 18 years. I think they've only won like twice or something. And I don't think they've ever won down the Swamp. However, Tennessee has, and Tennessee has been obviously better the last couple years than Florida. You just never know what's going to happen there in this game. This is one of those rivalry games. So, I told you earlier off air, that I'm a little nervous about this one. Obviously I'm excited to watch it. I just don't know. From what I've seen from Tennessee so far, it feels like they're still getting the offense going. And obviously how tough it is to play, and it's going to be a late game, right? It's going to be a 7:00 game. So, it could really be close. I'm not eager to go out there and bet Tennessee laying 6.5 right now. That's just me.
Yeah. I mean, last year at Tennessee won 38-33. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, Florida had Anthony Richardson, and now they got Graham Mertz, who's horrible, in my opinion.
You're
right?
not a big fan of him. No.
I am not a fan. But listen, they haven't won in Gainesville since 2003.
That's all right. Yeah, it was like, early 2000s. Right?
Yeah, for those of you not very good at math, that's 19 going on 20 years.
Yep.
Right? 20 years since 2003. So, I mean, last year that win in Knoxville snapped a 5-game losing streak. The line opened 6, it touched 7, it's back down to 6.5. But 87% of the tickets are on Tennessee, 13% Florida, and the line isn't moving. So, there's no way I can step in front of Tennessee as high as I am on them. But there's no way in the world I'm going to lay the points with Tennessee here. Because, again, it's just one of those games where, I would rather sit and enjoy it and watch it.
Yep.
And to be quite honest with you, I have we're going to have 5-6 plays, but I'm not like in love with the card, right?
Yeah.
As of last night, I was like, all right, there's 3, and then, there's a group that I'm like, all right, maybe I'll pick 2 out of, and it could very well be that I just go with like 3 plays and call it a day. You know what I mean? I got,
like you said, sometimes the best bet is a no bet,
Yeah, I just want to go through, I got 2 more days of work, but I can tell you right now, there's no way I'm playing this game.
Yeah.
Now, maybe a live bet myself, just screwing around, but this ain't going to be a play. The game's too close. I think Tennessee's a college football playoff contender. I think Florida's going to be really down because I don't like Mertz at all. Didn't like him at Wisconsin. Definitely don't like him now. I mean, the way he played against Utah, no thank you. But again, this is home. It is a night game. It is an ESPN night game, and it is in the swamp.
Yeah.
So the only thing Tennessee's got going for them is they're the better team, which unfortunately in sports gambling means that means absolutely nothing 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because here's the other thing. They could be up 2 touchdowns or be up 10 points and the game be over, and Florida gets something meaningless, right?
Yeah.
Back door's always open in these types of games. So, again, hopefully Tennessee snaps the 20-year, they haven't won there in 20 years. But I'm not going to be laying 6.5.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I agree. I know I really want to find a reason to bet that one, but I just don't think I can do it, especially after you just convinced me even more. So
look, you can't, gambling 101, you can't ever bet on, and I made this mistake with the New York.
I like the over under a little bit. Maybe that's
well, look, I don't do totals. That's just me. But
yeah,
I made this mistake with the Giants, right? Because the Cowboys had beat the Giants like 9 in a row. So you're like Sunday Night Football, catching 4, right? 9-game losing streak. Giants, if not now, win, right?
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of other stats. And they got boat race. Now, granted, the Giants should have opened that game up 7-0, and who knows what happens after that,
Sure.
Because they were inside the goal, they were inside the 5, 1st and goal, then they get the offsides, then like field goal block for, Cowboys had 13 points where the offense took the field. But I'm just saying, if the Giants punched that in like it looked like they were going to on the opening drive and go up 7-0, that game can go completely different. But it didn't. But what I'm saying is you can't go against a heavy trend like that. And I understand what people think. At some point in time, that it's got to snap, right? Like you say, Tennessee hadn't won there since 2003. At some point in time, they got to win there. If not now, win. I get that. But in gambling, that means nothing.
Yeah.
So, because if you make bets like that, you're going to find yourself on a cold park bench. You know what I mean? So, you just can't do things like that. So, that's why, again, the greatest advantage we ever have as bettors is we don't have to make the bet.
Right.
You don't have to bet every game on the board. You don't have to bet it because it's the nationally televised game or the standalone game. If you don't like it,
doesn't pay out more than the others.
It doesn't pay out more. If you don't like it, watch the game, and hey, maybe an opportunity presents itself in game that you thought you never had. What if Florida was to get up 10-0 and you could get Tennessee plus 8.5? Would you like that? If Florida was up, yeah. So, don't force a bet that's not there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do like those in-game bets too. Depending on if something, we did that in the NBA a little bit, where the dog comes out and is hot and is winning, and you can go bet the original favorite and get points for it, and kind of make up for it. So that's kind of fun sometimes. I'm glad you introduced that to me. All right, the late game. We're talking about 10 o'clock Eastern, I think. So I'm showing 9 o'clock on mine. Colorado State at Colorado. Why are we talking about this game?
Well, because we got to talk about Coach Prime every week now.
Oh, okay.
Because he's Coach Prime.
Yeah.
So look,
awesome.
no interest in the game, but I am interested to see. This will tell me a lot about Colorado. Listen, Colorado State's going to come in here, and again, they got good bulletin board material. Bobo's got he can say, hey, it's the state rivalry game, all that jazz. But I want to see how Colorado responds. And the reason I wanted to talk about it I just want to see where your head was at is I want to see how Colorado, do they come out and cover and get on them and throttle them and they don't play with their food, so to speak? Or are they looking ahead like most college kids do to next week when they got to go to Eugene?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that game at Eugene went from 21.5 to 19.5 to 16.5 all the way down to 14.5.
Yeah.
So I liked it a whole lot better when Colorado was catching 19.5. 14.5, yeah.
I still like that. Yeah.
Let's get through this weekend first.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I'm in a position to discount the Colorado kids and their ability to both come play in the game and also be prepared for the game. All they've shown so far is that they're completely prepared. They're extremely motivated, that they're coming to play. So I wouldn't say that I think they're going to come out and be looking ahead here and be looking over Colorado State. I think that they're going to come out and, I think the kids are just excited to play. They just look like they're excited to get out there and just show everybody how good they are. So that's just how I look at it. 23 points, maybe Colorado State plays them tough, but yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of points, but I do think they're going to come out and still look really good.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to know where you stood on it. Cause I do think now look, cause they struggle with Nebraska. Now look, Colorado State doesn't have Nebraska's defense, but I just want to see how do they respond.
They did struggle.
I think that's really, do they come out and get this thing over with, or, do they play around with it?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's play around with some NFL. We'll talk about the whole card here. We'll break the whole thing down, and then we'll get on out of here. But we have a lot of games to go over week 2. Week 1, obviously, we saw a couple injuries. Week 1, we saw some quarterbacks underperform extremely. We saw some surprising things. So there certainly has a lot of talking points going into week 2 here. Let's start with the Thursday night game. Vikings at Eagles. Vikings obviously dropping 1 last week. Didn't look very good. Eagles didn't look great either, but they came out with the win. So how are we feeling about Thursday night with Philadelphia laying 7 at home?
Well, I mean, Philadelphia has been a house of horrors for Minnesota, right? In the past. Obviously, it's a primetime game, which
Kirk Cousins primetime.
Does not help Kirk Cousins at all. Kirk the Squirt, he lost those 2 fumbles last week. I think that I think here's my biggest thing. Look, Philly beat New England 25-20, and the Vikings lose at home to what I still think is a horrible Tampa Bay team, right? 20-17. However, the home teams, they're 26-22 straight up on Thursday Night Football, right? Since it started in 2019, but they're 18-29-1, only 38.3% against the spread. Right? I think Minnesota plus 7.5 is the play. And you're like, John, you just said it was a house of horrors. Yeah, but when only 38.3% since they started Thursday Night Football of home teams cover the number, that's a glaring thing for the other side. The other part of this is week 2 is always a big week for people that lost week 1.
Yeah.
Because of teams that start out 0-2 generally have not had success to be able to make the playoffs. I think Minnesota is a playoff team.
Yeah.
The other part of this is Mac Jones shredded the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
And as much as I love the
Jones.
return of the Mac, Kirk Cousins is a way better quarterback.
Sure.
Let's say he wasn't. You still got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson running wild in that soft zone that the Eagles are playing with their secondary. So I get, everybody's going to pound Philly hard right now. 69% of the tickets are on Philly, but I'm probably not going to play the game. But if I did, you got to buy the hook and take Minnesota plus the 7.5 here. I don't think Philly is the same team that they were last year. Again, I get Jalen Hurts. I get all that stuff. But listen, any team that was in the Super Bowl and lost, we know the stats.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost their offensive and defensive coordinators to head coaching gigs. And you can say, I saw an interview like, yeah, they're happy they got the defensive coordinator out of there. They got this new guy. They were still playing soft zone and got shredded by Mac Jones.
Yep.
So, again, I'm probably not going to give out a play here. But I do like Kirk the Squirt. Again, the road teams here, 16-16 straight up, and the road teams 21-11-1 ATS 65.6 against the number. And in the weeks 1 through 8, early in the season, right? Early in the season on Thursday Night Football, in weeks 1 through 8, home teams 15-13 straight up, so just a tick over 500, but 7-20-1 ATS, 25.9% is all that the home team is hitting against the spread. So again, folks, you're playing numbers, not playing teams. Numbers and situations and what it means. So yeah, I would buy the hook and grab Minnesota plus 7.5.
And that's across, you said, the first 8 games across all games, non-prime time and everything. And we're not talking Thursday night.
No,
still
Thursday night football only.
Okay,
Thursday night football. Yeah, Thursday night football weeks 1 through 8.
Yeah.
Right. The home teams 7 wins, 20 losses, 1 push, 25.9% since 2019
against the spread. Yeah. Okay.
So the home teams only covered in weeks 1 through 8, 25.9% of the time.
Yeah.
So look again, 74.1 with Kirk and those weapons. All right, I'll take that.
All right. Sounds good. Moving along to the Sunday slate. We'll talk about the 1 o'clock games here. First, 1 o'clock Eastern, of course. The Packers are going to Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Packers looked good last week. We talked about this. Jordan Love looked good. They still have a lot of weapons. So, the weapons are still translatable even after Aaron Rodgers. The Falcons beat up on the Panthers, got a win there. A young Panthers team, but I think you were a little hesitant to say they were anything great yet from what you saw. Yeah. So what are you thinking about the Packers at the Falcons with the Packers laying 1.5 at this point?
Yeah, 1.5. It's actually up to 2 now. Moved to 2 last night. 76% of the bets on the Packers, 24% on the Falcons. A lot of money on the Packers coming in.
Yep.
I don't buy into this. Look, they got some weapons, but I just can't buy into Desmond Ridder as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know Atlanta, exploded late and kind of stretched that thing out against Carolina. And, I was talking to a buddy last night and he was like, who's the Packers, man? Well, I don't know. Everybody told me how great the Bears were going to be. They went to Chicago and owned them like they always do. So, listen, I'm leaning towards putting the Packers in the Circa contest and that being one of my plays.
Hey.
I think the Packers win this game. I don't like laying points on the road. But there's no way you could convince me to take the Falcons here.
Yeah.
No way.
All right. Yeah, I tend to agree. I like the Packers in this one. So yeah, moving on to the Raiders at the Bills. Raiders, as we talked about on Monday, looked really good. Jimmy G is doing his thing. Obviously, great weapons. The Bills with a tough loss on Monday night. So Going still at home here. Raiders at Bills. It's a short week for the Bills, though. And are we concerned about Josh Allen and some of his turnover issues? That's been a big topic this week with the national folks talking about. But I don't know if that's something that you also think is a concern for the Bills going into games like this.
Well, last year, remember the Bills hosted the Steelers and the Steelers went in there and beat them. Listen, I think early on, Jimmy G and the Raiders are a problem. I said this, they have talent as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah.
And Jimmy G's not going to make it a whole year healthy, obviously. But the longer he can stay healthy, the better off they are. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He wins. And, how good is Buffalo's defense? I don't really think they're that good. Just I think the Jets' offensive line was that bad, and they were playing against Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
So I think the Raiders, listen, they're not going to Buffalo in December. They're going to Buffalo in September. So I think that the Raiders can hang in here. It went to 9.5, now back to 9, then now this morning, 8.5. I'm going to have Buffalo in our Circus Survivor. That's going to be my pick, and that's probably going to be everybody and their mother's pick, right? This is one of the weeks I circled in the beginning and said it's going to be a tough week to find a winner. It's either this or the Giants. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm going to ride with Buffalo. But spread purposes, I think you take Vegas here, man.
Yeah.
I think you take Vegas. Listen,
it's a lot of points,
Crosby's going to get after him. The Raiders are going to be able to score points. So I don't think Buffalo's going to go out there and put 38-10 on them. I don't see that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Ravens at the Bengals. Ravens obviously got the win last week. Still didn't really look good, and we talked about the Bengals just getting dismantled by the Browns. Cincinnati's laying 3.5 though still, and I don't know. I like the Ravens in this one. Maybe not necessarily the spread, but I think we're going to see the Ravens continue to improve, and the Bengals, of course, have to improve over last week. They'll surely get better as well. So yeah, Ravens at Bengals. Bengals laying 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to buy the hook here and give this out as a free play. Ravens +4. Look, they were in a tight game last year with the Ravens and Bengals. As a road team, the Ravens 18-3-1. So I like the Ravens here +4. They didn't get out of the gates very good either, but remember last week was the first week because the starters didn't play during the preseason. So you had that week with new offensive coordinator Mike Munkin, with Lamar and OBJ really didn't get going. They lost Dobbins. But listen, this same Ravens team with the third string quarterback was on the Bengals 2-yard line about to punch it in and beat them in the playoffs. And a fumble that Hubbard ran 98 yards back to the house to win the game saved the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally expect Burrow to bounce back. The Ravens don't have the same defense they've had in years past. But these two teams play each other way too tough, so I'll buy the hook, and let's grab the Ravens +4. That's an official play, an official free play. That's our first one of the weekend.
Bada bing. Bada bing. You hear it, the Ravens +4, first free play. Great. So as we move along here, of course, my internet wants to reload. Okay, there we go. Seahawks at Lions. Seahawks, we talked about this. You're not a Geno Smith believer. The Lions we do like. Lions with the win last week. Very impressive. Detroit laying 6 at home.
The Fighting Dan Campbells. I'd like to have Coach Campbell back on the show like we did last week.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we gotta switch it up. We gotta have other people. We can't just be all about Dan.
Yeah, it'd be Doug Peterson this week.
Doug Peterson. Sean Payton should come on the show too, I think.
There you go.
Definitely.
Listen, Seattle, I just want to confirm what I already thought. They're a bunch of buzzards, and I let everybody talk me into how great they were. I want to see them against Detroit. Detroit really put Pat Mahomes in a box in Arrowhead. Was Detroit just juiced up, ready to go, and now are they going to kind of slouch. I don't think so. I think Dan Campbell's going to have them ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like laying 6, and I don't know where Seattle's at, so I'm going to stay away from this game. But I expect the Lions to get the win here. But I think it could be closer than people think. Could be.
Could be. Yeah, Lions' first home game, obviously. They're going to be pumped up.
Sellout for the Lions at Ford Field.
Yeah. Tickets as low as $186. I mean, that's, people in Detroit are pumped up. They should be.
Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah.
All right, next one, Bears at Buccaneers. Bears obviously getting taken down by the Packers last week. The Buccaneers getting their win, very impressive against the Bengals. Against the I'm blanking. Vikings, right? The Buccaneers beat the Vikings.
Buccaneers beat the Vikings.
Yeah,
yes.
Sorry. Buccaneers laying 3.5. Laying 3 at home against the Bears. How do we feel about Jordan Love? Excuse me, not Jordan Love. I keep
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields, thank you. They're interchangeable, right? So, how do we feel about Justin Fields going into this game? You've not been a big believer of Fields in the past.
No, he's played for Ohio State. Name one that's did anything. I mean, Jesus, Mary.
Yeah.
All this talk about the Bears is I was doing my study and I started yesterday, right? Monday's kind of a day I just sit, chill, watch, Fox Sports, watch ESPN, watch VSiN, watch DraftKings Network. Like I just got 4 or 5 shows going at one time
Sure.
and just, vegetating after the weekend. And then Tuesday I get to work. And I went back to, because there's so many notes I take over the summer in July, August when I'm prepping. And the stat that, I had to go back and add because I had to take last week's results and add them to my numbers. The Bears have lost 10 freaking games in a row.
Wow.
Going back to who in their right mind thought they were going to win the North this year? Again, I'm going to bring it up every week. All you people that thought they were going to win the North and all you people that were holding Justin Fields MVP tickets and talk. Boy, don't y'all feel like a bunch of idiots. I mean, dear God, I hope you have a better financial advisor than that. But listen, Tampa Bay laying 3. Again, don't overreact, right? The look-ahead line, Bears were favored in this game. Now they're catching 3. I'm going to buy the hook, take the Bears plus 3.5. That's going to be our second free play. Again, another road team, which I'm not a fan of, but I'm going to grab the Bears here plus 3.5. I'm not a believer in Tampa Bay. I know Minnesota's a better team than Chicago, but again, biggest thing with the NFL is everybody goes off last week.
Yeah.
Really, for these first 4 or 5 weeks, you got to go off of the work you did preseason with your power rankings, with your team breakdowns, with the lines you set yourself. They set the line for every NFL game before the season starts.
Right.
And so I set my line for every game of the NFL season, and then I compare and start seeing where I have value. And then I'll tweak it as the season goes. I'm not going to overreact week 1.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Even some things I'm like, I knew Seattle was bad and I got talked into them, right? The Giants, they lost 9 straight against Dallas. Why am I stepping in front of them? So, those things, I'm not going to let it alter what I do. I'll relook at it, after week 4, week 5. But I do think the Bears plus 3.5, it's 3. You get that hook. Again, I can't see, people are talking about Baker Mayfield. Look, Baker's been known to sneak out some wins,
Sure.
right? But over the long haul, I just don't. And again, I don't see it. I like the Bears. Give me the 3.5. And the Bears plus 3 are going to be a contest play. I do know that.
Oh, nice. All right.
So that's one of the 5 for the Circa Millions. I know I'm going to go with the Bears plus the 3. If I get beat, I get beat, but whatever.
Yeah. All right. Could be the game of this particular slate here on the early afternoon games, or it's like morning for some. Chiefs at Jaguars. Chiefs obviously have the loss to the Lions. Will certainly make some adjustments moving into this game at Jacksonville. Jacksonville looking solid last week. Kansas City laying 3.5. Like you said, we talked about it on Monday. Trevor Lawrence is still impressive. Obviously ETN is a target for him, but Calvin Ridley was the biggest surprise that he was as electric as everyone thought he was going to be, based off of some of those tapes we were seeing from training camp and stuff. So, but I do expect the Chiefs to bounce back. I just don't know if they're going to be able to go into Jacksonville and necessarily dismantle the Jaguars, but I'm expecting a pretty competitive game here. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the best game of the weekend for sure. I have no idea in God's name what the NFL was thinking, not making this the Sunday night or Monday night football game.
Yeah, because we got the Dolphins at Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, and no offense,
Sunday
but
night.
nobody cares about Dolphins at Patriots other than Jake and Kevin Wilds.
But you can't look. I bet you if we looked at the Chiefs schedule right now, we'd see probably more primetime games than any other team in the NFL, at least tied for it. And so you just can't put them in every primetime game.
Yeah, you can. This is going to be the AFC Championship game more than likely.
Yeah,
you're going to have
that'll
the
be a
number,
primetime game then. So
you're going to have
leave
the
this
number.
One at the day. Yeah,
you're going to have the number 1 seed Jacksonville Jaguars, and you're not going to put them on primetime football.
You just can't. The Chiefs can't be in every primetime game. It's not even fun. Like the rest of us.
Why do you keep saying Chiefs? What about? Are you not giving any respect to the Prince?
No, you're missing my point. My point is that if you look at the Chiefs' schedule, they probably have the most primetime games, if not tied for the most primetime games on their schedule already. Right?
Yeah, but this is their biggest game.
The biggest game of the season?
Yes.
Oh, we need to look at their schedule here. Hang on.
This could determine home field advantage throughout. I mean, it's not going to be Buffalo.
Come on. Why is my thing not working? There we go.
I mean, listen, the competition for the Chiefs is the Bengals, the Jaguars, which I think the Jaguars are better than the Bengals. And no, Chop, I don't think Lawrence is better than Burrow. Burrow's better. I'm just saying, I think as a team, the Jaguars can do more damage. I think they're ascending, right? But Bengals, Jaguars, and if Tua stays healthy, Dolphins, those are the 3 teams I've said since the very beginning.
Yeah.
That could contend with the Chiefs, right? I said nothing about the Bills. I said nothing about the Jets, even with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, though I did think they'd sneak in the playoffs. I said nothing about the Chargers. All right. There's nobody else left in the South other than Jacksonville. Sorry, AJ. I said nothing about, Baltimore's not making some phantom run to the AFC Championship game. It's a 4-team race, in my opinion, and it goes to 3 teams if Tua goes down.
Yeah.
That's just what it is, folks. I mean, you can like it, lump it, but that's the facts. You can't handle the truth.
I can handle it. I don't know. I'm just making the point that, I think it's fine that it's an afternoon game, I think you play one of those once in a while. We get a break from seeing the Chiefs every night, every week of football season.
Well, not for people that got to coach softball Sunday morning and is probably going to miss the freaking game, AJ. Stop being so daggone selfish all the time.
I know. I'm so selfish. Just hit the plus button on YouTube TV, record it. I won't be able to do that because that's not a local game for me. I'll be watching who. Which, let's jump into that. So I'll be watching the Chargers that are coming to Tennessee. The Chargers laying 3 against the Titans. Yep. Titans, obviously, I talked about it. They did not look good last week. Their offense, specifically defense, actually did. Yeah, I was pretty happy with.
Defense hung in there.
Pretty happy with holding Derek Carr to just 1 touchdown. But the offense definitely needs some help. Let's see if they can kind of turn some things around against the Chargers. And we for some reason, I went to the Chargers game last year in SoFi, and we lost. But we always seem to play the Chargers. I mean, I went to Qualcomm game years ago now. I think about for some reason, even though the Chargers in a completely different division, it's funny. We always wind up playing them pretty frequently and play them pretty tough. So 3, to me though, considering how bad the Titans played last week and how high people are on the Chargers, I was surprised the line is at 3. I was expecting a little bit more. Am I wrong there?
No, I think the line's right where it should be. The line's right where I thought it would be. It really opened 3.5, which is where I thought it would stay. However, I'll tell you what. My first instinct when I saw this was Chargers money line minus 165. Right? Mm-hmm. Again, you know me. I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to lay points on the road.
Yeah.
If I like a road favorite, it's money line or nothing. That's just a rule I have. Other people, they're willing to bet everything. That's them. That's not me. However, I checked this morning. Staley and Kellen Moore are still the coaching staff. And so when I put them up against Vrabel, the IQ would be like putting Bill Belichick up against Jerry Glanville back in the day, right? Like it's just a huge landslide, right? It's like, hey, Bill Gates or a 2-year-old, who's more intelligent, right? So that's what scares me from having me pull the trigger. But if you are going to bet the game, I lay the 165 with the Chargers. But listen, it's a game I'm probably going to stay away from just from the mere fact of, and my philosophy really didn't work well last week. Like road favorites rolled last week.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a lot of public. They're willing to lay points on the road like there's no tomorrow. But there's a huge coaching mismatch here. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. And the Titans are at home, but the Chargers defense does have the Titans are at home, but the Chargers defense does have pieces. I think the Chargers get the win here. But probably a game I'm not interested. We had the Titans last week in the contest, had the Titans last week. We gave that out as a play, +3 against the Saints. It worked out for us. Thank you, Mike Vrabel, for kicking that field goal instead of going for it like everybody said you should have. We appreciate your donation to the worship of Jon here, Church of Gambling. So thank you very much for your donation last week. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you, Saints, for not breaking one loose and getting a touchdown instead of a field goal too. So I also would like you to look at Titans against the spread. Honestly, like they might still lose this game, but they are, at least last year when I was keeping track of it, like they are typically covering a good portion of the time, maybe more than average. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to bet the Chargers, you bet them money line. If you want to bet the Titans, you bet them plus the 3 by the hook 3.5, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's you don't lay the points there. So I mean that's just listen, I think it's going to be a really good game. Like I said, my first instinct was with Chargers money line. I would never lay the points on the road. But the Titans, again, you have a huge advantage with Vrabel as the coach. Huge. Monumental.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, and our last 1:00 game is another AFC South game that I'm not even sure we need to talk about. The Colts playing the Texans.
Yeah, just move on. Nobody cares.
Moving on. Sorry, guys.
Hey, real quick though, Staley. We're gonna call him Coach Joe Staley.
Joe Staley? What is that? Why is that familiar?
Well, because he acts like Joe Biden, so I just put the Joe in front of his name, and both of them locked them two in a corner. Jeez.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Neither one of them can talk or think.
Easy. All right. Jumping over to the 4:00 games. 49ers at Rams, both coming in with a winning record. 49ers just picked up right where they left off. But we talked about the Rams too. The Rams were impressive. Like you said, whenever you have McVay at the helm, you always have a chance, and Stafford actually looked really good as well. So I'm excited about this one. This should be a good one. And I think we saw these two teams match up last year and the year before, and it's always a good, fun game. San Francisco laying 8 though, going into SoFi. Are you concerned about that? Like you said, don't lay points on the road. So same rule apply here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not laying points on the road here. I will say that, Shanahan's owned McVay, but 8.5, it opened 7.5 up to 8.5. That's a little too rich for my liking. So I'll stay away from that. I mean, gosh, the 49ers, they've just rolled here. I'm just looking. They've won 8 of the last 10 against the Rams. But again, the public's going to be all over the 49ers. I don't want to overreact. I thought the Rams were a 500 team, right? I should have stuck with my original thing. Again, you rewind the beautiful bean footage. When I said Rams +6, you and Chop were like, are you nuts? Well, I ended up taking Seattle, so I'll blame that on YouTube buzzards. But everybody's going to want to lay the points here with San Francisco. And even though San Francisco owns them, they haven't blown them out. And so, to do what San Francisco did last week to Pittsburgh's defense, I just don't want any parts of it because I don't know who is who. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like everybody's going to want to run and bet the 49ers. No way. But I'm not signing up to step in front of them because, look, if Purdy, and I've said this all along, I think Purdy's a really good serviceable quarterback. I don't see him being a guy that can hoist the Lombardi. But on the other hand, and he didn't have like this glaring great game if you dive into the stats. He did enough. But like when he comes out and says, Patrick Peterson was talking that smack on Purdy. Remember that?
No.
The corner of the Steelers, he's like, yeah, he can be got. We're going to get him at least one. We're going to get at least one pick off of him. You missed all that?
No, I missed all that.
So Patrick Peterson, who's a Hall of Fame corner, right?
Yeah.
Basically said, hey, we got the game plan. Purdy's not that good. We're going to pick him off at least once. He can be got, like talking trash. And then you get ran out of your own stadium 30-7. And, Brock Purdy, and I like Purdy. Chop always gives me crap. I'm like, no, I like him. I just don't think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Why can't it be both? But Purdy in the press conference, he talks all low with that little grin like he's, just stole a piece of cookie out the cookie jar and doesn't want anybody to know. He was like, yeah, that one touchdown I threw, was that on Patrick Peterson? Like just all nonchalant. So the guy's got some moxie and some edge. He's just a quiet kid. So I'm not interested in stepping in front of San Francisco just quite yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, smart. All right. Next game we have the Giants at the Cardinals. Giants, both of these teams really just brutal losses last week. Giants obviously losing to the Cowboys on the Sunday Night Football 40-0. And the Cardinals losing to your old Washington Riverboat Commanders. So
Riverboat, hole in the boat, Ron Rivera.
Do we just jump through this one like we did with Colts and Texans, or do you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, here's the thing: you can't lay 6 on the road with the Giants. It's up to 6 now. Here, as I'm looking at the TV, you can't lay 6 with the Giants. No way. But the Giants aren't going to lose this game. And actually, as I'm thinking about it, I don't have to make the call to the proxy to put it in till tomorrow. But I might actually switch the survivor pick from Bills to the Giants. I hate road teams, but the Giants aren't going to lose to the Cardinals. I mean,
yeah.
And again, I'm not going to lay 6, but I can see Dable and the Giants coming out and just putting it on Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you want to money line parlay somebody, money line parlay the Giants with somebody because they ain't losing. No way, no how.
All right. Good to know. All right. The next game, the Jets, who we talked about, obviously.
This is your game.
Pulled out a great. Why is this my game? Jets at Cowboys?
Because I get some random text. Am I crazy for liking the Jets +10? I said, yeah, you're freaking nuts.
Yeah. That's right. So Jets coming in, obviously, with the big win on Monday night. Cowboys getting a big win on Sunday night. Yeah, this is a fun one. Jets at the Cowboys. in Arlington. Dallas laying 9.5. I don't know.
AJ, did you see what Dallas's defense did to the Giants' offensive line?
Yeah, you make a good point.
And did you see what a horrible, like, I don't think I think Buffalo's defense is trash.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see what they did to the Jets' offensive line? Now, envision what Micah Parsons and the Cowboys are going to do to that Jets' offensive line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's going to look like the Jets are going to look like when General Custer, like an idiot, ran down the hill thinking they were going to win that battle. It's just going to be an absolute bloodbath. Just a bloodbath.
Mm.
Now, I will say this, though. You know me, a lot of, NFL teasers can be very profitable if you know what you're doing. And again, people say, John, you always lay a lot of extra juice. I never understood a 6-point teaser just to say I got -110. It's like a normal bet instead of laying $1.30 for a 7-point teaser. Like, really, does the other $20? I mean, you're going to blow that at McDonald's, right? Get the touchdown with the extra point. Why are you just getting the touchdown and leaving off the extra point? Again, it's just my style. I'm a little different, but I will say this. The Jets defense is going to be good enough to keep them in it because as much love as the Cowboys are getting, and I'm like, yeah, that probably is going to be the number 1 defense in the NFL. The reality of the matter is Jets defense is pretty darn good too.
Yeah, they look good.
And and I still believe Dak Prescott is not the quarterback everybody says he is. I think Dak Prescott is at best a 14th, 15th best quarterback in the league. So teasing the Jets up to +17, I think has a lot of value because I don't think they're going to get boat raced. I think if I'm the Jets, I'm running the play clock all the way down to 1 and I'm pounding Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook and hoping I can soften that thing up to hit Cedric Wilson on a big play action. But look, Diggs and Wilson, that matchup on the outside, that's going to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard for the Jets to score. But I think their defense can keep them in it. But 10 isn't enough. Now, but again, if you're talking about +17 a teaser, now I'm convinced I would side with the Jets there.
All right. I like it. All right, next one, Commanders at the Broncos. Commanders obviously getting the win against Arizona. Broncos coming in with a loss. Did not look good. I had more hopes for the Broncos here going into the season, but so far haven't seen what I was hoping for.
Sean Payton, he should have been a warm weather guy. I'm telling you, you get there in the cold and the altitude and things just go to heck in a handbasket.
Yeah. So Denver laying 3.5 at home. What do we think here? I mean, it's just kind of like Commanders. Are they as good as they looked? They didn't really necessarily look that great, but Broncos also didn't look that great. I don't know. I mean, I could see the Commanders have a shot here if the Broncos played like they did last week.
Before I answer that, just to wheel back to the Jets for a second.
Okay.
What do you think about, there's a rumor out there, not a rumor, but somebody threw this out there that, the Jets looking for a quarterback, Colt McCoy got brought up, Carson Wentz got, because
I saw the little carousel a bunch of guys that are available. Yeah.
Yeah. And none of them really tickle the fancy, right? But somebody threw something out yesterday morning that I thought was interesting. Because of Rodgers' age, we don't know if he's going to come back, right?
Sure.
And if he comes back, what does he really look like with coming off an Achilles at like age 42? Like, let's just be real, right? I hope he comes back, but if you're the Jets, do you call up the Arizona Cardinals and say, let's have a realistic conversation about what you would take for Kyler Murray?
Oh.
Because here's the problem with the Jets. You have a Super Bowl team. That Jets team is a Super Bowl team. I wasn't convinced all the way. After Monday night, I'm convinced. You got 2 Super Bowl running backs. You got a receiving corps with a stud. And you got a top 3 defense in this league. You just don't have an offensive line or a quarterback.
Yeah.
But not having an offensive line, Kyler like Zach Wilson can get, well, Kyler can get away a whole lot more. He's a whole lot faster. I mean, somebody threw that out there yesterday morning. I was like,
who wants to put up with that guy? That's my only question. That's really what it comes down to. So,
but what happens to? But what if you're Salah and the GM?
I'm saying to myself, what do I want to put up with that guy? Same thing.
But what if you miss the playoffs now? Are you feel confident enough to say our jobs are good because we lost Rodgers?
I mean, I think you get a little bit of grace for this year, don't you?
I don't know. What coaches are out there on the market?
Yeah, I don't know. So,
I mean, do you ever really know? I mean, if you were the Jets owner and you missed the playoffs, right? And you could see easily, the guys didn't have a fair shot, you know.
Yeah.
Rodgers went down.
Yeah.
But then let me ask you this. When you're and I like Robert Salah. I've always liked Robert Salah. I think, a lot of people are like, well, we don't know if he's a good coach. I'm like, come on, dude. He's a good coach, right?
Yeah.
But if you were the owner, doesn't it cross your mind, get a good juice bump if maybe I could get a prime?
Oh, of course, I'm sure they thought of every possible scenario at this point. I mean,
I'm just saying, like, Brian Dable, if he wants out of the Giants, I mean, listen,
It's way too
I'm
early.
just saying,
it's way too early in the day. It's too early in the season to be talking like this.
Listen, Redskins, Denver. How Denver can be favored by 4 over anybody other than Denver School of the Poor and Blind and Denver's
poor. There's no such thing as that.
Well, it is. If you lay 4 points with Denver, they're going to open up a whole community. What are you talking about? That's why there's so much homelessness in Denver and drugs. People keep betting on Russell Wilson and the Broncos. They've lost their whole livelihood.
School of the Poor.
But look, can I say I'm excited about taking Riverboat hole in the Titanic run? No, I'm not either. But and Sam Howell, for all you people that were giving me crap about John, you can't be a real Skins fan and not like Sam Howell. He's the truth. Oh yeah. Yep. He told the truth from my viewpoint last week. He blew. That guy's a buzzer.
Yeah, it wasn't very impressive.
All right. With that being said,
1 touchdown, 1 interception. Meh.
If Sean Payton loses the first,
Dak Prescott though. Dak Prescott only had 143 yards, no touchdowns.
Well, Dak didn't even have to do anything. He jogged out on the field. I'm up 13-0 in my first possession. I get the ball at the 40.
This is the issue this is why I agree with you on Dak, and I will, because there's going to be a point where he is going to have to do something,
and he won't get it done.
Exactly.
Won't get it done. And we might have to wait all the way to the playoffs. To the
very end. Yeah.
But listen, you Dallas fans, just wait. It's coming. Yeah. He is not Troy Aikman. Just wait. It's coming. But listen, if Denver goes 0-2, this whole Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, the ownership, this whole thing's going to unravel. Poor Russell Wilson. He'll be saying, would you like fries with that? It'll be like a Tim McGraw song.
Teams that are in danger of going 0-2 and it not being good, I would say, are the Titans. And we're talking about like coaching changes, right? Things like that could have serious ramifications. Not like I'm saying that mid-season. I'm just saying like
it starts the conversation.
It starts the conversation. Titans, Chargers, what else was it? The Bears.
The Bills, if they got upset.
The Bills. And whoever we were just talking about, the Broncos. And the Patriots could go 0-2, which I don't think there's any concern there, but it's just an interesting point. So yeah, if the Broncos go 0-2, which a couple of teams that are key teams that are looking at 0-2, it's like you said, it's not a good way to start. It's not a good way to make a living in the NFL.
Listen, since 1970, teams that start 0-2 have made the playoffs 9.5% of the time.
Yeah.
So 0-2 is like the Green Mile. It's a long walk the rest of the year, boys.
Yeah, but like we have an extra.
I love it. You're going to put a positive spin because
we have an extra.
Titans
I don't know. We have an extra game now in the season than we did in 1972.
All right,
but I see your point.
That's fair.
I'm just saying, like, it's probably not 9% if you factor in the extra game that we have. Anyways, doesn't matter. Dolphins late game. Dolphins at Patriots. Patriots, honestly, I know they got the L, but like they looked pretty decent. Dolphins obviously look amazing. As you said, Tua is just as long as he's upright and he's out there on the field, it's going to be electric. But Foxborough, I don't think the Dolphins have a very good track record going into New England. That might be a stat we have to look up with our stat team here on our staff.
Yeah, Vanilla Dolan. Can you get that done? She looked up at me like, "Huh? Stats?
Yeah.
What?"
But just Miami laying 2.5 at home. Excuse me, in Foxborough. So
yeah, Miami. 84% of the tickets are on the Dolphins. 16% of the tickets on the Patriots. And what did you want to know?
How have the Dolphins been at Gillette? Like what's
the Dolphins have owned the Patriots in Miami. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess you got to factor in when it's cold and when it's not cold. Like it's not cold right now, so like that's probably an intricate stat. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Here's my problem with this. Every square in the world is going to be on the Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
Like everybody's going to look like SpongeBob SquarePants. Going to the window to bet Miami. And I'll be honest with you, I can't blame them.
Mm.
Like, because here's, you think about Miami and the first thing people think about is, okay, Tua and Waddle and Tyreek Hill and those running backs and all that great stuff, right? But that defense with Vic Fangio, right? Now, they didn't look like it against the Chargers, but the Chargers got a lot of weapons, man. Chargers are going to be one of the best teams. Regardless who, and I don't want to hear the Kellen Moore speech. Regardless of who the coordinator is, Chargers, as long as you got Herbert, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, the new kid Thompson, Eckler, like a moron can get that team to finish top 5 to 10 statistically in the NFL on offense. So I want to hear that. But Vic Fangio, I think, makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's one of the 3 best defensive minds in all of football. So, I have a hard time seeing the Dolphins lose this game. With that being said, I'm like, why is the line only 2? You know what I mean? Like, they just don't give out free money. And I get it. The public is right. Sometimes the public wins the most in an NFL season the first 4 weeks. Right? But I just, I can't make a case for the Patriots. I just can't. But I don't want to be a sucker with Miami, right? But I don't know how the Patriots find a way to win this game. Does that make sense? Like
sure.
Offensive, defensively, I just don't see that.
Yep, definitely. But you make a good point. Why is it only 2.5 is what I'm seeing on my side? But it's really interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I thought the line would be 4. Miami laying 4. The fact that it's 2.5, I'm like, come on, man. Like,
yeah. All right, Monday night we have a doubleheader. We talked about this. Kind of weird. One starts at 7:15, one starts at 8:15.
The NFL does so many things right, but they don't. This part. Look, start one at 6:30, one at 9:30, or one at 6:30, one at 9. Have the other one start fourth quarter of the other game, whatever, so you can watch both. How they have it set up, you can't. It's not a true doubleheader.
No,
right?
No, it's not.
So I don't understand what they're doing here. Or look, move these games. I still think Friday Night Lights having a Friday night NFL game.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good marketing stuff. But listen,
Yeah.
Saints Cardinals, Saints laying 3.5, 75% of the tickets on the Saints. Again, this NFC South, I
Saints,
just
Panthers.
can't.
Did you say Cardinals?
Yeah, maybe it's early.
Saints, Panthers.
Saints, Panthers. I don't have a good feel on this NFC South yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Tennessee's defense played well.
But
the Saints have a lot of weapons. You saw Carr make some good throws, so you're like,
I thought they
But
looked
then
decent.
it's like,
Yeah.
Burns is still holding out, for the Panthers. He's their best defensive player. Bryce Young had flashes of greatness. Then he looked like a rookie quarterback the rest of most of the game, right? So, I don't have a good feel for this one, so I'll take a pass. Nothing in the contest, which we'll get those up on the website by Saturday for the contest. I just got no feel on this one, man. I want these are all these NFC South teams. I'm gonna have to see for a couple weeks, right? Like I don't think Atlanta's as good as people think. I don't think Tampa is good, but I don't think they're as bad as everybody thinks. I think the Saints have a chance to win 10, 11 games and win the division. And I think Carolina is a 500 team. So I think you got a bunch of people hovering around 500, and the Saints are the only one that could really ascend. But will they? Because, again, Dennis Allen's still the head coach. So,
yeah. All right. What do you think about the Browns and the Steelers?
I absolutely love this game.
Yeah.
I love this game.
And if you have YouTube TV, by the way, you can just do the split screen on these. I just realized that. On these ones, you could, because they're both actually being played.
Now, why don't they have it to where you can pick? I don't like this for college. You can't pick which 4 you want to have in the box either.
No, if they do the 4, it's like a preset 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So how many can you pick on your own?
I think if you go to one game and you click split screen, you can choose another game to have it side by side. But on the 4, it just has preset 4 for you. Yeah. I think that.
Yeah, because last week I could only get like up to 3, and I'm like, gosh, I need the 4th game. But I guess I could have stopped being lazy and just pull it up on my iPad or something.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
But
maybe
I need
I need 2 of these. Maybe I need to slide this TV down and get 2 90-inch TVs beside each other. What do you think? What?
Look obnoxious.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a busy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
stock trading people have TVs everywhere, right?
Well, they usually have like monitors, like desk monitors, all like 4 or 5 of them, like on there.
Yeah, I got 2 monitors.
Yeah.
Well,
you should do
2
that.
monitors too. Well, I could have 4 screens here at my desk, but
there you go. You can do that.
Yeah.
All right. So you love this game, Browns?
I love this game. It's going to be a
Nothing.
Yeah, I love this game. It's going to be a contest play. It's going to be a play I give out. It's a no-brainer. It's a slam Michael Jordan dunk. Old Houston back in the 70s. 5 slamma-jamma.
5 slamma-jamma. All right. Great. Well, that's the NFL. You know what we didn't do? We didn't go through our AP versus John's top 10. What was it? John, you want to do your top 12?
I want to do the top 12.
College football,
so,
right?
Yeah, college football. So, do you have the AP pulled up in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. So, if you want to go through number 1, and we'll go one at a time, and then you say what the AP's got, I'll tell you what I got. And it's going to match up very similar the first 4 to 5, I think, if I remember.
We will do this. We'll jump into a little betting corner, and then we will get on out of here by the 2-hour mark and let you guys have the rest of your afternoon whenever you get this. Let me see. Ranking.
And please put your donations in the John Worship Community Fund. That's at bccsports.com.
John at BCC. I just did it. I just did the thing you did. All right, here we go. Sorry. I don't know why my internet is being so weird this morning. Okay, I'm ready. All right,
number 1.
Obviously, we all know Georgia.
Yeah, as much as I think they're not been tested, I can't move them off 1. We'll keep the Georgia Bulldogs at 1.
All right. Michigan, number 2.
Yep, I totally agree. JJ McCarthy, totally underrated. They get Harbaugh back after this week. I think Michigan is in the national. Not only do they make the college football playoff, I think they're in the national championship game when it's all said and done.
Wow. Okay. Number 3, Florida State.
I can't deny it, man. You got like 18 starters returning. They play tough. If they get over the hump next week at Clemson, they'll make the college football playoff.
Yep. Agreed. We talked about that. We talked about their schedule. As long as they can get past Clemson, they got a really good shot. Okay, so number 4. This is where it might start getting interesting. I wonder from you. Number 4 is Texas.
Yeah, I gotta give the hook 'em horns. I got Texas number 4. Yes,
over USC.
Over USC, better quality win, and actually, now if USC was to run the table, they would hop Texas just purely based off of the schedule, right? I mean, the Pac-12. Sure. Listen, Pac-12 is the best conference in football this year, even better than the SEC. Never thought I'd say that. What a way for the Pac-12 to go out. Good job, Commissioner, dismantling that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for.
They should do a video of him dismantling the Pac-12 with Chris Farley and Tommy Boy, where he's got the little roll and he's like, it's my friend, and I poke it, and then I just rip it apart.
That's a good one. That's a good scene. All right, number 5, as mentioned, USC.
Yeah, Trojans, they're right there. I only dropped them down a tick. Again, the Texas win was impressive on the road. Yours looked fantastic, but USC still dynamite.
Okay, so far you are lockstep.
Yeah, me and the pencil pouchers, I'm starting to get them to come around.
This is where this one might be interesting. Number 6, Ohio State.
Hell to the no. Ohio State ain't that good. They're a bunch of buzzards, and it's all going to get settled next week at South Bend. I got Notre Dame ranked number 6, and Notre Dame will upset Ohio State at South Bend next weekend.
Oh, wow.
Sam Hartman on his Heisman run.
Yeah, we like that game. We were talking about that game. All right, number 7, Penn State.
Hell to the no. James Franklin's still the coach. I'm going to put Washington there with Michael Penix, who I think is one of the 4 or 5 guys that'll be standing on that stage for the Heisman Trophy. I got Washington number 7
over Penn State. Okay, yeah. So then we had Washington at 8, and so who are you putting there?
At 8, I'm putting Tennessee. Joe Milton in Tennessee. Remember, for the year, I had Tennessee in the top 4. Tennessee hasn't really did anything to get warranted for me to slot them out of there. It's just other teams have just been more impressive to this point.
Yeah.
But again, the schedule sets up great for Tennessee as far as it's a tough schedule. So if they can navigate it, they're going to be where they need to be at the end of it. But right now, I got them sitting at 8.
Okay. Number 9, they have Notre Dame at number 9.
Ohio State, I basically flipped Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Yep.
Again, Ohio State, they're a good team, but they're not as great as everybody thinks. Listen, they haven't been impressive. Even against Indiana, they weren't impressive. They didn't even cover the number.
Mm-hmm.
They got a layup this week with Western Kentucky. I'm just not sold on the Buckeyes. This might be their weakest team in the last 5 years.
Yeah. They still love them, though. Still love them. All right. Number 10, Alabama.
Yep, I got Alabama slated right there.
Okay.
Right. But I still have huge concerns about their quarterback situation with Joe Milroe. I mean, he missed a lot of throws.
Yeah.
A lot of throws.
Yeah, they have issues at the quarterback spot. Are we going to 12? Or
yeah, we're just going to 12 because that's what the college football playoff will be next year. Should be this year. So that's why. Because I really think there's 12, 13 teams that can really compete for a natty.
I agree. It's too bad that we have to wait till next year, but it'll be a good practice for next year. Okay, number 11, they had Tennessee, and
I got Penn State.
Penn State. You'll drop them down from 7 to 11. Okay.
Yeah, 7-11, great Slurpees.
Amazing. Ices, I think. Actually, no, Slurpees. Yeah, no, Slurpees. Yeah, that's right.
Trust me, I know. My daughter has me go there all the time.
And number 12, Utah. Agree with that?
I don't agree with that. And number 12, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. I got 2 teams tied at number 12, but it's all okay. It'll get settled next week. At number 12, I got Oregon/Colorado.
Oh, okay.
So the winner, whoever wins will be in that 12th spot. I'm not a big, listen, Whittingham does a great job at Utah. Cam Rising's been out. But I don't truly see Utah being able to navigate this thing. I would actually put LSU and then Utah.
Gotcha.
Actually,
Okay.
I would put LSU, Ole Miss, and Utah. I think Ole Miss is a sleeper, AJ.
I agree.
I think Ole Miss, you did say that. Credit to you. You were all over that way. You were to the party way before I was.
Uh-huh.
But now I'm like, all right, Ole Miss, this might be the year they sneak around and end up in an SEC championship game.
Yep.
So,
all right. There's your top 12. That's good. That's fun.
and any objections, Your Honor?
Yeah, no, like I said, I think I like USC a little bit more than Texas. I get it. You beat Alabama, but really this list should not be based upon who you've just beaten most recently. And I feel like that's my biggest issue with the rankings is it's not just like who do we think is legitimately the best team based off of what we see on the field. They factor in the fact that they basically beat so and so last week or whatever. Like last year when we beat Alabama, it was like we leapfrog Georgia to number 1. Well, we should have that shouldn't have happened just because we beat Alabama. Georgia should have been ranked number 1 that next week when the polls came out.
And it really hurt you. All it did was piss Georgia off.
Exactly. So. Yeah, so that's kind of my issue. So anyways, I like USC a little bit better than Texas. I agree. Ohio State, Penn State should be lower. Maybe not as high on Notre Dame as you guys are. I think they do look good, but again, I want to see a little bit more from them. I obviously agree that Tennessee should be higher than they are at 11, but you're totally right. They just really haven't shown with the games that they have, that they're going to be the same team they were last year. So maybe higher than 11, but probably not much higher. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, pretty much agree with everything there. And the Colorado going from 18 up to 11 or 12 potentially.
Yeah.
That's
I'm all about the Buffs. I believe.
We got to clip that one out. So
yeah. So my last thing before we get out of here, my girls' high school basketball team, my coach, Prime, he's got the sweatshirts that say "I ain't hard to find."
Uh-huh.
I'm going to get ones made up for us that says, "We see you looking." What do you think?
Is that, where's that from? We see you looking?
I just came up with it.
We see you looking. Huh?
Yeah, because I don't want to copy, Prime stuff verbatim, but I was like, what could I do for a cool sweatshirt? Like, because these girls are good. We got a chance at a state title. So I'm like, yeah, we see you looking.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like it then.
You walk in the gym, they're wearing those. Like, I don't know. I just think it's cool.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that's cool. They walk in and we see you looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. That strikes fear a little bit. I like that.
Yeah. We here. We ain't scared. We'll play anybody anytime. So, yeah. Last thing, again, just to wrap up Gambling Corner, don't let your eyes deceive you here, folks. What you saw week 1 of the NFL isn't going to be week 2, and week 2 isn't going to be week 1, and week 2 isn't going to be week 3. Each week in the NFL is its own season. So, yes, you need to take data. You need to take trends, but do not let your eyes deceive you, right? Because, again, I know Dallas was very impressive. They're not going to beat everybody 40-0. Right. I know the Giants look like trash. They're not going to lose every game 40-0. Right. So it's going to go both ways all year long. The Lions, they beat the defending Super Bowl champions at Arrowhead to open the season. Would we really be shocked if Seattle went in there and beat them? We might say that, but truly nothing in the NFL should ever surprise you. Ever, 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 ever. So again, don't bet emotionally. Take emotion out of it. Because just like I say, every bad decision you've ever made in life has been out of emotion. You never thought it all the way through. You just instantly reacted. And that's how gamblers get in a lot of trouble. So you got to make sure you stay very level-headed. And again, stick to the work, right? Stick to what your preseason work that you did and your studying did. And you say, well, John, I didn't do any preseason work. I didn't, I go to work every week and then I bet on the weekends because I love football. Great. You're like 98% of America. Right. That's why you got me. Email me, john@bccsports.com. I got something going right now where if I don't win X amount of games in September, look, I won't I'll give you October for free just to prove you I can win. If I don't prove it by then, great. You can be like, hey, he's just like any other schmuck that tries to sell picks that I've given money to and they've taken my money and I've lost. Look, we can be done with this relationship quick. Just give me the opportunity. Again, really pumped up about the weekend. Put a lot of work in. You can also go to the website, bccssports.com. Check it out. We do have some different things being upgraded on there and all that, but you can see the packages. But if you email me individually, I'd like to work out a deal for you just for you coming on, just so we can start to build a relationship. Had a great guy, Joey, last night out in California. He joined us. You know, we had a great conversation for 45 minutes. You know, it's not about me trying to get your money. It's about us building a relationship, getting you on a plan. Because look, if I make you thousands and thousands of dollars and you pay me pennies, well, it's not a bad deal for me because I get a group of guys that I know is consistent and are never going to leave because all I do is make winners. Then look, I don't need to make a ton of money. I'll make the money over time, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. And if it's not for you, man, hey, call me up 2 weeks into it and be like, hey, you suck. And you don't have to worry about hearing from me again. Fair enough.
There you go. Jon at bccssports.com or at just our website, bccssports.com. Like Jon said, we have some upgrades coming to the site. We're actually going to work on getting the whole record up there as much in real time as possible so you can actually see Jon's track record. Obviously, there's all the packages, you know, things like circa contests. So these are all things we're working on the website, so stay tuned for that. And check us out on all the socials at BCCS Sports or Bustin Chops Callin Shots, depending on what social platform you're on. But that's it for Jon and AJ from BCCS Sports. Have a great weekend. Enjoy college football. Enjoy pro. Reach out to us if you have any questions. For those winners out there, you'll be getting picks here soon if you haven't gotten them already for baseball and others. So we'll see you guys next week. In the meantime, have a great one.
Love you, my winners. God bless.